million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest fight. RTD Live Talk, Wednesday, the 23rd of May. Let's talk about what's on your mind. So, I'm looking to check in this evening, find out what's happening in the vlogosphere as well as what's happening in the news. So, as always, just give it a minute or two, let people log on and chime in. Interested in getting your thoughts on the prior videos, as well as my interview with Daniel Amaduri last night. I think it was a great conversation, and I definitely learned a lot. And as you tune in, definitely let me know where you're watching from. So, Tom Manley, good evening to everyone. How you doing, Tom, my friend? Thanks for tuning in again. Any new viewers out there, as always, I love to find out who is tuning in for the first time and where you're tuning in from. So feel free to, in the chat section, let me know where you're tuning in from. It's always good to connect with different people from around the planet. So anyway, I want to go through some comments tonight, and as you see, the clock is ticking, and so as always, trying to stick to the format of a nice conversation for about 30 minutes or so, give or take. And so what I want to do, so that I'm able to stay on time, is to actually open the phone lines up sooner, as opposed to waiting to the very last 10 minutes or so, whereas in the last couple segments wasn't able to get to everyone's call. So definitely want to make sure we make it so that people can call in and as it says, voice, offer your voice to the community. So other than that, Daniel Amaduri. Tom, how was what were your thoughts about having Mr. Amaduri join us from Future Money Trends? I know I was very encouraged, very excited to have him on, and actually we're working on me appearing on his show next week, and so it should be a good opportunity to reconnect with him and find out more and shine more light on this monetary system as things implode, as well as if you guys have not had a chance to check out the video from earlier. I'm also interested in finding out your thoughts on the whole deregulation and where that's heading. And so I've actually had a couple more thoughts after making that video of things that I just couldn't squeeze in. And so just on a side note, I made that video and the first, I made it twice. So the first video ended up being more than 20 minutes long because I had more articles to cover. And then from there, when I finished the video and went to do some editing, saw that I had no sound. So I was talking to myself over 20 minutes with no sound. So I had to redo it. And of course it was better and it was shorter. So I left out some things. So Delonzo, what's up, my friend? Says, hello. When this economy go through another economic collapse, do you think the car industry is going to get a bailout? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think so. Reason I don't think so is because they've already received one government bailout, and it'd be hard. It'd be real hard to sell the American people, apart from all the jobs that will be lost. But I just recently found out that it looks like Ford Motor Company is moving, or is going to stop producing a majority of their vehicles and just narrow it down to 2, I believe. And so they're shipping things overseas, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So between now and that time frame, we might not have much going on with Ford here. And then GM and Chrysler and all of those other, manufacturers, American made or not. I don't know. I don't think it'll be a hard sale, apart from the fact that there'll be a lot of jobs lost. But I'm curious to find out with this Ford move, with them relocating. I haven't heard much about that, and I assume there's going to be a lot of layoffs as well, if that is true, which I believe it is. And speaking of which, let me pull it up so I can verify that and see if anything has popped up. Ford closes. Ford to stop selling cars. Let's see what happens there. It says Ford to stop selling every car in North America but the Mustang. Okay, so it is an official true story. And so since I'm here, let me share the screen. So according to this report here, it is official that Ford has stopped selling every car in North America but the Mustang and Ford Focus Active. Ford today announced it will phase out most cars it sells in America. So just think about the idea of them phasing out most cars. That means closing down plants, stopping assembly lines, and massive layoffs. So that is already a sign that they're not doing as good or as not as profitable. Then you factor in the idea that most people, or everybody, apart from maybe 1%, are actually buying cars. Everyone else is financing cars. And I'm amazed at the fact that in this country, especially, and I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to really notice this, but I know in outside of maybe Europe and the US, we're the only country where people actually look to get a car every year or two or something like that, because they either leasing or whatnot. So only this country is the ones that need a car every year, give or take, and financing or leasing at best. So no one really owns a vehicle. So imagine all those cars that will be left on the lots, because I'm sure there's millions of Ford trucks and stuff just sitting on lots now. Who's gonna buy that stuff, especially with gas prices going up? So those are all things that I question big time. But to answer your question, I don't think there'll be a bailout. I think there'll be some type of, it's gonna be all packaged together, because if the car industry goes under, then you're gonna have all the financial institutions and their even their own credited like the GM credit, company version of that. So all those going to have it's going to be a domino effect of a lot of companies going belly up. So they're going to need a lot more than just a bailout for the automotive industry, because they've mixed all that types of stuff, to financing together with that as well. Aaron Moffitt. Pad, hello, how you doing? So what's up? We got a couple people viewing us, but yet not too many people checking on the chat. As always, the phone lines are open. I would rather just open up now if you guys have any thoughts you want to share. But other than that, I'm interested in hearing what did anybody who tuned in last night with Daniel Amanduri, did anyone learn anything new? Anyone walk away feeling a little bit more encouraged to focus on things that you can control as opposed to things that you cannot control? I.e. the idea that this banking regulation stuff is really going to be disruptive, because it's going to be in favor of the banks again. So that could be a problem for a lot of people. And one of the questions I meant to pose in that video at the very end was, with all the things that I mentioned in that video, from the idea that guys derivatives, you have the large balance sheet of all these banks, and now they are extending or minimizing some of the regulations on the smaller banks. My question that I meant to pose earlier was, knowing all this, knowing that we are due for any type of banking correction, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the concept of being bailed in. And so within the Dodd-Frank Act itself, I'm not sure where, I used to know offhand, but there's a section of the Dodd-Frank Act which mentions that as a part of the resolution process for recapitalizing the banks, because they will be insolvent again, because they don't have enough capital to withstand some type of economic downturn, i.e. the idea that they had less than 8% last time they had a collapse, and it's probably not the same now because their balance sheets have gotten bigger. So there's going to be some need to recapitalize the banks. And in recapitalizing the banks, that means that they're going to have to get some funds from somewhere, and that's going to be depositors' funds. So the question I want to pose to people is, knowing that a bail-in is coming, how much would you feel comfortable leaving in the bank, is my question. So if anybody want to chime in on that, feel free to do so. I would love to have that question answered for you personally. Hello, caller. Where you calling in from?
Hey, RTD, it's Angel.
Hey there, bud. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. But even though the person that you mentioned a few minutes ago, Daniel, whatever name is, there are a few things that I will say about the situation that I'm in with my money. Because over the years, I've had so many things change in the way my money is controlled, from me being able to manage it myself to a payee doing it for me. And basically, let's just put it this way. There's no means of me being able to take money out when I want to because of a payee that I have.
Okay, so you're saying that when it comes time to getting your money out of the bank, you won't be able to get it out, you say? I want to make sure I understand.
Because the thing is, I don't have a bank anymore because when I used to, I would always overdraft it, and my the people recommended getting rid of the bank and going on some type of debit card.
Right.
And basically, the type of debit card that I have me on is my control. They control it, meaning they control the settings, how many places to go and places I can't go. Because when I first got the card, they blocked my ability to purchase stuff online, like let's say ordering something from Amazon or ordering a pizza from Domino's.com. I did not have that ability when I first got the card because they were controlling the stuff that I wanted to. The only places that they would ever allow me to was purchase things in store, like inside of a Walmart, inside of a Best Buy.
Okay.
And if I wanted, the only purchases that they allowed me to were PIN purchases and ATM withdrawals.
Okay. So,
and like let's say if I wanted an extra $500 for a new computer, I wouldn't be able to do that because my payee would have to send a request. Because the other thing that I have is a tribal trust account. Because I'm a Pima Native American, I have what is called a tribe pension trust account. And if I want like $500 from it, my payee would have to send a request to my Native American tribe trust account, and they'd be the ones to process it.
Okay, so slow down a little bit so I can get everything together. Okay, so it looks like, because you mentioned they, I'm not sure who they are, and so between you and the financial institutions you're using the prepaid cards, correct?
Correct. Basically, they deposit the money onto the account or on my card, should I say, and they only allow me to certain places.
Okay, so watch this.
The settings that is on the card.
Okay, here's a suggestion for you. Okay, so it sounds like whoever is the primary steward of your card, they have access to determine where you can spend money at. So I would, just my opinion, I would withdraw as much as you can from your card, from the ATM machine if you can, via cash, and then on your own, go get you another prepaid card that you can deposit cash on right away and be able to spend and control yourself. So you use your ATM card to withdraw cash, and then you probably reload it to another prepaid card where you have sole control over it. And a possible solution, depending on what you're interested in, is I personally I use gold money as a way of storing precious metals, as well as having a debit card access. And so that might be a good option for you if you're looking to have control over your own finances, which seems like you don't have access to that. Make sense?
Correct, because like I said, if I wanted to get like $500 for a new computer, I wouldn't have access to myself. My financial specialist would have to do it for me.
Right. I would say get it. Whatever cards you have, try to withdraw as much as you can. You might be able to have to do it in increments, but do it as much as you can, and then from there, just get you another card and go from there. But I have to take another call, so I hope I answered your question a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Pat Sherrill, and I'm calling from Alabama.
Pat Sherrill from Alabama. Thank you for calling in this evening. What's on your mind, Pat?
Well, my biggest question is everything I hear on the net is gold, 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 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's talking about silver when it's got a market cap of $17 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, depending on your source, there's a lot of silver people out here. We have David Morgan, we have Chris Dwayne. So those guys are pretty silver minded, but yet I understand, I know what you mean exactly. But I tend to talk more about silver than gold myself because it's more affordable and it's more, in my opinion, it's a little bit more precious because of the scarcity behind it in comparison to gold, which is hoarded and predominantly in central banks, vaults, and all that stuff like that. So I am a silver enthusiast myself.
Well, the one thing that I think the general public needs to understand is that we can do to silver what's been done to gold just by everybody buying an ounce.
Yeah, I do agree. But the thing is getting people's attention to understand the importance and the monetary aspect of it. And that's what that's like, just educating people on the fact that prior to 1965, silver was in our coins. But most people say, I don't care, not realizing that quarter, that pre-65 quarter has more value because of the contents of it than the quarters we have now. And so right now, people just don't seem to care, unfortunately. But there will come a day where they will care, but it might be a little bit too late for some. But silver is the way to go, though.
I certainly do appreciate your time. I enjoy watching these videos, and I wish you'd do one other thing. Is there any time you have somebody on that says go, 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 go?
Yeah.
Ask them about silver.
Oh, I will. I promise you that. I will, Pat. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you calling in.
All
right, bye. Yeah, interesting. Go, go, go. Yeah, so it's it's a tandem, gold and silver. And I usually talk about the ratio a lot just because it's 1 to 70. I don't know what it is now, but a lot of people say it's one day it's going to be 1 to 1. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But at the end of the day, my philosophy is if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So another way of saying it is I tell people to get your weight up, knowing that, money is actual weight. And so if you look at the Coinage Act of 1792, it talks about measurements and weights and purity. Those are the 3 measurements for sound and quality money. And so those were the ways that our monetary supply was managed back then. Now it's just paper and digits, so a little bit off. But somebody mentioned here I got sidetracked on bail-ins. So let me see, how fearful are you? Okay, so let me go back a little bit. And also, if you want to call in, please do. Sorry, and try to keep the questions or thoughts real short so we can get more people in. Credit, no, nothing. This dude is a credit, no, nothing. We have a caller. Let's see what we have here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, great. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jeanette. I'm calling from the Bronx. I'm calling from New York.
Jeanette from the Bronx. Nice to hear your voice. What's on your mind tonight?
Good. Yes. Well, first I'm also I found your channel after you did the interview with T West.
Okay.
And I'm glad to have an elder of ours that found someone of my age that I can listen to, and I just wanted to commend you and everything because this channel is tight. I've learned a lot, and it's only been about less than a week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Now, I'm curious to know, being that you say that you live in South America, you've been living in South America for a while. You haven't been in the States for a while, right?
So I'm currently positioned in Michigan, but I occasionally travel outside the country, work-related purposes. And years ago, I lived when I played sports outside this country.
Okay. So you still live in the States. Okay.
Correct. So.
Well, I wanted to ask a question. Actually, you know what? Before I forget, I just heard the last person before that you were talking to.
Yes.
I don't know where he was calling from or nothing, but I didn't hear. I heard you suggest him getting a prepaid card or whatever. If the person is still listening and they know, I'm sure since you live in the States, you know about Capital One 360. If he could get his own Capital One 360 debit account, checking account, then he would have they would give him a debit card, which is free.
Right.
You don't have to pay a monthly fee or anything like that.
And so
I didn't hear everything. I couldn't understand.
Right. So one of the things, my suggestion to him was, because on this channel here we're more alternative minded. So where I personally don't really look to support the too big to fail banks, and so you have the
I know.
So Capital One, they're all in the same ring of whatever it is they're offering is designed to keep you in their system, and it's probably at the end of the day it's going to benefit them, because I don't know about the card because it could be legit, but I can imagine somewhere down the line, like to actually deposit cash on there, it might be like $5 or $10 or something like that, which is what it costs them. But I'm more the mindset. The recommendation I gave him was Gold Money, where it's free. to deposit, and so it's free to transfer.
I don't even know what that is. Maybe I don't even know what gold money. I heard you just say that, and I didn't know what you meant by that. You don't mean carat bars, right?
So it's similar to carat bars, but gold money was probably, I'm not sure about. It could be around the same time frame it came out, but it's the same format. You know, you own gold physically in their vaults. You have a debit card that you can use to spend, and it just deducts from your gold account. So I'm sure it's similar to carat bars. So it's that same nature, but I know from my experience, gold money, it's easier, it's cheaper, and I don't recall having any real cost at all, even when I use my card, and it's good to use in various countries, so it's quite effective.
Okay. So I could just Google gold money and I'll be able to find it?
Yep, so if you go to goldmoney.com, you can just get information and find out for yourself. And so actually in the RTD University, I interviewed one of the CEOs, James Turk. So if you check him out, that's one of the guys who is responsible for that. So thanks for your call. All right, thanks for calling.
Wait, oh, damn, I wanted to ask you a question. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a deep question.
Okay.
You know. But being that you're in the States, and something that happened, I guess it happened about almost 2 weeks ago, with a particular person with the labor that's going on in this country, and disenfranchisement of certain groups of people, the minorities. When I found out about the particular rapper Meek Mill, I have to ask that he first was on the Al Sharpton show, and he actually said that he is known in his community for employing people that normally are disenfranchised from having gainful employment.
Right.
And he was supposed to go to this whatever they had in the White House, and he was convinced not to go. Jay-Z called him and convinced him not to go, and all these other people could go. And I'm just curious to know, with the situation that's going on in the world, in this country in particular, when it comes to making money and employment of a certain group of people or certain class of people, whatever, what do you think? How do you when you were watching, or when you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, how would you approach it? And what is your point of view? I really need somebody that's more financially minded to give me an answer. What is your point of view about somebody who says they know how to employ people that can't get employment, but then turns down, out of ignorance and cowardice, turns down an opportunity to, even though this president is very controversial and all, it turns down an opportunity to go and present his ability to do something that nobody else can do.
Right.
Nobody could say that they're employing black men who have been incarcerated other than him.
Right.
Really. Nobody's come out and said it. And he turned down an opportunity to go, and whatever that summit was about, whether it was about race or employment, who cares?
Right.
And what is your point of view on that? Because I'm not, obviously, so you could tell.
Fair enough. Okay, not a problem. So I'll answer that. So I'll answer. Thanks.
And we need to open,
Okay, so thanks for the call. I'll answer it. And so I appreciate the call in, and definitely stay tuned. I'm going to share my answer with you right now.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
And so in regards to the whole Meek Mill situation, not familiar with it. And I know because of how the country is real divided right now because of who is in office, my personal opinion is that anytime you have a chance to connect with the person who is in the most powerful position on the planet, according to what people like to say, the president, I believe it's probably the Federal Reserve Board, but I definitely think it's not wise to turn down an opportunity to connect and to try to put forth a presentation, and as well as just be a leader and say, hey, let's come beyond this color barrier or this division that the mainstream media and the system wants. I mean, the system wants division. They want black and white. That right there, keeps us from actually coming together and agreeing upon our true enemies, which is the establishment, the banking system, those that are opposed to our liberties and our freedoms, and monetarily especially. So without really knowing the details of that Meek Mill situation, I think it's, in my opinion, it's foolish, because I'm of the mindset that it's not about race. It's more so about principalities and powers and high places. And so the Bible makes it clear that, you know, we're at war against a demonic force. We're at war against the enemy, and he's the God of this world. So as long as we're divided, we're playing right into Satan's hand. So my advice would be, Meek Mills, get your stuff together, boss, and utilize the platform you have to reach as many people as you can to help people. So that would be my thoughts. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, I'm Erin Moffat, the girl looking for attention.
Hello, Erin Moffat. How are you doing?
I saw a comment about that. I'm in Montana, by the way, and that was very fun music to wait by. And I'm very new to your show, so
okay.
I may be asking a question that's already been asked.
Okay.
Maybe multitude of times, but my question is, I have read or looked at some things that say that, you know, I think Bitcoin or other crypto is very intelligent. Is another way to get out of from under the thumb of the government. But what I've seen is a possibility is that our own government will find a way, since we're 98% digital with our money anyway, to use a cryptocurrency to over, you know, just take over the dollar, and the dollar won't matter anymore. They're going to use a cryptocurrency. What do you think?
I believe that is a possibility. I think initially it could have been introduced to get us used to the idea of being accepting rather the whole crypto blockchain type of lingo, which a lot of people are excited about now, while they prepare whatever it is they have in mind for after the Federal Reserve note comes to an end, as far as it being hyperinflated away. And so I believe that the Fed coin, the Treasury coin, or whatever it might be, could be in the works or already prepared. And so once it is announced or released, then at that point they'll crack down on the free floating decentralized coins and say it's illegal or whatever they might try to do to eliminate people from using it, while making us utilize whatever it is they have waiting for us, which I mentioned in a prior video that it could be tied to your social security number. So whatever your private address or whatever it might be a social security number type of connection. So it is possible, and I would not put it past our central bank to already have something ready for us to utilize when needed.
And I agree with you that gold and silver are the things to have, because in an economy that when that happens and we go through a hyperinflation where one day, you know, eggs are a certain price in the morning and they're 4 times the price in the afternoon, those of us will have a different kind of purchasing power by having that on our person. But I would say, what do you think about, you know, they say that these things are, you can't break into them, or they're reliable because somebody else can't hack it. But we've kind of seen some things happen like that. So what would you say and this is my last question, what would you say to a person that would even consider something like a Bitcoin or another crypto at this time?
I think from a speculative standpoint, it's worth dipping and dabbling in, just because the opportunity of actually earning some of the federal notes, actually some of the fiat currencies that's going into it. And so the price of those Bitcoin / Litecoin, they're all going to rise because we have more than enough fiat currencies that are going to be chasing profits. So people are going to put money in it regardless. Now, in the long term, I don't know security-wise how safe it is, because I'm of the mindset that if it was created by man, then it can be easily manipulated by man. And so it is some type of computer algorithm code. So I believe that it is capable of being maneuvered, altered, or whatever. So, but time will tell. But once again, it boils down to the tangible elements that come from the earth, and I say that the greatest wealth on the planet comes from the periodic table. So if you have something from the periodic table, you should be just fine, in my opinion.
Okay, and thank you. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you for calling. Interesting. Some great calls, some very solid calls. Thank you guys for chiming in. And I missed any questions over here. We have one from Philman that says, question, how fearful are banks toward Bitcoin? Can the bank system become obsolete due to Bitcoin? The banking system becoming obsolete, that's a big call right there, because man, Wall Street, you know, if you look at all the biggest, tallest skyscrapers in your city, wherever you might be located, they're probably bank related. So to say that those buildings can one day become vacant, probably not likely. But I don't think they'll be obsolete. I think they will jump on board, and they're going to find a way to utilize this. And I believe that has a lot to do with the pricing right now, as far as it being, once again, a manipulated market, because they're all in red apart from 1 or 2 coins right now tonight, I believe. So anyway, I believe the banking industry will take advantage of it, because they want a piece of the pie, and the pie is all the retiree money / pension fund money / 401k and 403, all that. I forgot the exact number, but there's trillions of dollars sitting around in these retirement accounts. And so since the stock market is so overinflated, it's good to say that these investment funds, whatever, are going to start dipping and dabbling with the crypto space. And so you have all that pension money, all that retiree money coming pretty soon. And so that means that all the cryptos, predominantly the ones that are strongest, that have use case, those are the ones will go through the roof, just because they're going to start offering retirees some yield, because right now the pension funds aren't really getting much other than speculating on the stock market, which everyone knows is a little inflated. So the cryptos will be next. So all that retirement money is going to go into cryptos. That might become the new Wall Street type of vehicle, along with all the bank coins. Like JP Morgan might have a coin, Chase may have a coin, and all of that type of stuff. So those are my thoughts. Anyway, to increase the caller's volume, hard to hear. So I apologize for that. I tried to cut the volume up, but I appreciate the feedback. It says Bitcoin will never currency, for the simple fact is can only make 1 to 5 on which it can make 300 was an altcoin. Yeah, Tony, that's a good thing. Bitcoin, I don't think it's going to be designed to be used daily. That's why they got Bitcoin. I was actually thinking about all the Bitcoins. They got Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin. So it's good to say they're going to have some other form of Bitcoin to use, probably Bitcoin Cash, the way it looks like. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is David, and I'm calling from Delaware.
David from Delaware. Thank you for calling in, my friend. What's on your mind this evening?
So I just want to let you know, I'm somewhat of a banking insider. I work for one of the top 3 investment banks, specifically fixed income, U.S. Treasury settlements.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, man, there's a lot going on right now in the markets. And right now the Fed is buying massive, tens of billions of dollars in bonds a day.
I don't doubt it.
They're basically monetizing the debt.
I don't doubt it. And so the question was, I know a lot of other alternative-minded gentlemen mentioned about where there's a massive sell-off from our eastern neighbors.
Sure.
So who's actually acquiring them? And so there was always mentioned about some slush fund that I think one of the prior guests, Rob Kirby, mentions. That's a slush fund that's set aside for, it's trillions upon trillions of dollars that's readily available to utilize that.
The exchange stabilization.
Exactly. There you go. So I wonder. Go ahead.
Now, the thing that interests me is the thing that has me a little bit nervous is I'm starting to see trades being bought by the BIS, or Bank of International Settlements, which is basically the central bank of all central banks.
Right.
So what they're doing is basically buying federal U.S. Treasuries, the BIS is. So now not only is the Fed buying, but the BIS is buying just to suppress interest rates.
Yeah.
Because they were climbing there for a while and they got a little nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a nuclear financial bomb, basically.
Yeah, so explain to me, so give me some thoughts on this whole inverted yield curve, and what are your thoughts surrounding that?
Sure. Well, it's just a matter of time. We're not going into less and less debt. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to come out more and more. Right now it costs, $2 trillion a year to support our debt habit right now. And with the Fed buying, I think that they're trying to hyperinflate the currency.
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to do that, but I think it's their only way out.
Right.
They can't have a deflationary period and be like, oh, you know what, our bad. They can't do that. It's got to be a hyperinflationary. That's why you're seeing gas rise, because it's not the gas is rising; it's the dollar's getting weaker.
Right, and not a lot of people
try and.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people.
Really, the catalyst in the room is Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank is horrible.
Yeah, that's so that whole derivatives aspect, and so the fact that they laid off 10,000 people in the last couple of days, and a couple thousand before, and different departments before, so they're trying to trim their books a little bit just to save some dollars. It look like, so they are running or hiding from something over there, and the fact that everything's interconnected is not going to be good.
If you look at their derivatives book, I do CDOs and derivatives, and if you look at Deutsche Bank's derivative book, they're connected to central banks, they're connected to banks. You're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars, basically, like $300 trillion.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if you had a chance earlier. I did a little article on the whole deregulation for the banking, and I went back to an older article that was from 2013 from whoever was the columnist, but he listed all the details at that time of what was on the books for the over-counter derivatives, and it was 700 trillion then, and so we all know it's well over 1 quadrillion. But I wonder, is that really the number itself? Is it more than that? And how can how can they let it get so big? Is my question.
Because I mean, you're talking about funny money when you get to the 600 trillion. There's not even enough, or maybe even a quadrillion.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but it is the catalyst. I mean, I think that could be the canary in the coal mine that crashes the whole system. I mean, the fact is the central bank has to find a way out.
Yeah.
And they have to find somebody to blame on so they can keep continuing to do it. Because the reality is that people are starting to realize that we don't need them anymore, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the fact is the U.S. Constitution allows us to print currency. We're basically using their currency, and that's why they can tax us on it, because it's a usury fee.
Yeah, so the question will be, once everything unfolds and the truth is revealed, of course they're going to point the blame at some exterior force, and like they're trying to always hype up Russia, China, this and that, whatever, which they are definitely making plans around us because they're preparing for whatever it is coming. But the question is, will we then go to war? And that's typically what follows the death of an empire.
That's typically what happens. I mean, if you look at, I think we're in a situation right now in where Germany had the mark. I think it was called the mark, the German mark, or the franc. It was one of the two. And basically what happened is they got so out of control, they just started printing a bunch of these marks or francs. So you have to excuse me, I forget which it is.
It's the
marks. And they
marks.
hyperinflated their currency.
Yeah, actually, because I love collecting currency, so I actually bought a lot of those old notes from the 20s and 30s or whatever. So yeah, they run out of paper to put it on, so they put it on all types of scripts and all types of stuff. So yeah, I don't know if the Federal Reserve will run out of paper because they can probably just add a couple digits on the banking screens. But then the problem, as I mentioned earlier in my video, was the bank runs. People are going to go run into the banks trying to withdraw, and then that's when they're going to find out that they're going to be limited to $50, $20 a day. All like what's happening in Venezuela right now, you have capital restrictions on what you can get out, and that's going to be ugly because most people don't have cash nowadays.
Can I tell you and the viewers kind of what my thought process is? And
please do.
Go down?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I think what we're going to face is a massive hyperinflationary spike, and then there's going to be a massive deflationary spike. And I think the best thing to have at this point in time is about $2,000 in fives and tens cash, because I think we're going to have a credit freeze, and I think the banks are going to go down. And I think they're just going to freeze the entire system. And if you don't have cash, I mean, you're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cuss.
No, I understand.
you have to have something. And if you have 20s and 100s and 50s, chances are that a lot of people aren't going to have change for that. So if you have 5s and 10s, you're going to be golden.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think you talk about it all the time, but silver is obviously heavy manipulated with the future contracts and the derivative books. Silver right now is a massive, massive buy.
Yeah.
I store physical silver myself, and gold, I do trust gold, but I think silver is a much better buy at this time.
Yeah.
Cryptos, I'm with you on 100%. I think that they've already established currency crashes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we will see.
It's kind of a setup.
I actually I'm gonna pull up and screenshot just in regards to how limited and how rare cash is in totality compared to all the digits that are available. And so this is a visual aid that I'm pulling up right now. And so it says how many dollar bills are in circulation. So this is what I commented on earlier in my video. But if you scroll down, and you can actually see, according to what they put together, the actual amount of notes that are in circulation. So the most are ones and hundreds. And so the 5s, 10s, and 20s, they're already a small amount in comparison to the higher denomination notes. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, it talks about how much basically everything's in $100 bills. And I mentioned that most of those hundreds aren't even in this country. So there will be a shortage of change in general. So even having loose change like quarters, nickels, and dimes will be worthwhile because people will need change anyway. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. I agree.
Well, if it comes down to a credit freeze, I mean, it's basically back to the barter system. I mean, I think if people didn't have a credit card, you know what I mean? Like you have what you have. You got to be prepared for that because that might exactly be what's happening. And the countries right now that are selling the most treasuries back and the Fed buying are the BRICS countries.
Yeah.
Brazil, Russia, Poland, they're massive amounts.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy, man. It's a crazy time. And a lot of people are just following the Dow, and people realize the Dow Jones is 30 top companies. They can manipulate that so easily.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate you for sharing your insight. Definitely call in again, my friend. Appreciate the conversation. And thank you for chiming in with that.
No problem, man. And best of luck, guys.
Thank you. Enjoy your night. Yeah, man, that was great. That was great back and forth. So we are well past our 30-minute mark, but it was too good to cut short. But as we draw down towards the end, I want to make sure, first of all, everybody can hear me, because in the past, when I was getting ready to log off, people couldn't hear me. So, but on the screen here, for those that are new, just joining me or whatever, so I have a couple things here just to keep in mind. And so for all those that are not aware, I'm holding a silver giveaway, looking to, put some silver in somebody's hands for helping me spread the Rethinking the Dollar message, because a lot of people need to understand what's going on here. So I have a lot of free resources, as you see over my shoulder. It's pretty much can be found in the video in the description below once I put the information there. But other than that, it's been real, as always, having a chance to connect and getting your thoughts on what's happening in your world. And so let me, I'm going to post and copy this. And so, let me post and copy this, and then sign off for this evening. So it's rare that I have a chance to do 2 nights in a row of connecting with you guys. So it's been a privilege, as always, to answer questions, as well as have you guys call in and share your thoughts. So other than that, are there any more questions or any more things off? I'll be interested in doing that as I post this. And so below is the information to get a hold of some of the resources. To get a hold of some of the resources mentioned on the screen here. But that is it for this evening. Apart from me having any more questions, let me check and see. Go back to my. Okay. There's a lot of good back and forth in the chat. Let me a second here. Post some comments at the bottom. As my screen loads, it's taking forever. Next live event. So yeah, next live event. I really would like to do one every night, but it's just hard amongst ripping and running all day and trying to settle in and take care of the family matters. What else we got? Thanks, great insight. Excellent insight from the car. Yeah, Dave was rock star, my friend. Thank you. Now you're looking up at the camera. So anyway, but everybody, appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will try to get back to it tomorrow night. What I could use to help more people find out what's going on is to give me a thumbs up, and if you found this informative, share this on your social media so more people can find out about Rethinking the Dollar and become curious as to what that mean, and then go to the RTD University page where I have my guest and just get connected with us here so they can join in the chat and call in and ask questions. So, but other than that, everybody have a good evening. Look forward to connecting with you again, and until later, I should have a nice little 3D whiteboard presentation tomorrow, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. So other than that, have a good night, peace out, and stay prayerful.